Welcome back to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. The White House went toe-to-toe with reporters this week. The administration was grilled over its refusal to release the so-called Epstein Files. Meanwhile, Congress couldn't escape the Jeffrey Epstein story, even as Republicans passed a measure to take back $9 billion in government spending. House leaders spent most of Thursday night trying to ease concerns from congressional Republicans about the Epstein Files, more than a week after the Department of Justice released a letter saying that no further disclosure from the Epstein case would be appropriate or warranted. President Trump says that he directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimonies, subject to court approval. Republicans in Congress teed up a vote asking the Trump administration to release credible information from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, but Democrats opposed it, arguing it doesn't require the Trump administration to release any new information.
Has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people.
To demand that the American people get the transparency that they deserve.
House GOP leaders say they may vote on that Epstein resolution next week. Returning to Capitol Review is Brett Samuels. He's a White House reporter with our media partners at The Hill. Brett, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me.
We're always glad to have you. The list, or the Epstein Files, certainly created an uproar, including from FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who has hinted that he may resign. Why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, well, this has been something that has been sort of an animating cause for folks across the political spectrum, but really a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of members of the so-called MAGA movement, which makes up Trump's base. That includes folks like Dan Bongino, who before he was the deputy FBI director was a podcast host, radio host, and really staunch Trump ally, who was among those who had sort of egged on these questions about the case of Jeffrey Epstein, had sort of raised conspiracy theories around his death, suggested that the government was covering up information around the Epstein files for some nefarious reasons. Now, Bongino, who is in the Trump administration, is part of the FBI and the DOJ, which have basically said this is case closed. There's no so-called client list related to Epstein, that Epstein did die by suicide in his jail cell. And it's created this sort of rift and this outrage because a lot of Trump supporters are just kind of not quite taking that for an answer and continuing to press the administration for more information.
And Brett, some members of the Republican Party are speaking out. We even heard Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene express her concerns.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who of course is one of the president's closest allies in the House, really, has been one of a handful of really prominent Republicans in Congress and, prominent sort of MAGA voices online who have kind of pushed back on this. We've seen Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert has called for a special prosecutor in this case. Speaker Mike Johnson has said that the administration should put out more information. There's a discharge petition going around the House among Republicans, which would essentially force a vote for the administration to release more information around the Epstein files. And then you have non-lawmakers like Laura Trump, the president's daughter-in-law, and some other folks on the right who are really kind of pushing the administration to release more information. So it has been an interesting and sort of rare case where some of Trump's most loyal supporters are essentially saying the administration needs to do more.
Hey, you think this also has anything to do with the midterms? And do you think that this is going to have an impact on Democrats as far as their messaging?
Yeah, well, we've seen Democrats, it's been interesting to watch. We've seen Democrats try and seize on this message, try and essentially, add fuel to the fire and suggest that, the administration is not being forthcoming or it's being dishonest in some way, try to sort of egg on the concerns of Republicans and use it as a line of attack against the administration. Some of the folks who I've talked to who are close to the White House and Republican strategists have been skeptical that this is really going to end up being a big issue in the midterms, both because the midterms obviously are still, a little bit more than a year away, so it's quite a while from now, and because this isn't really one of those, quote unquote, kitchen table issues, those pocketbook issues that often decide the midterms and elections. So while this is something that is really animating some vocal Trump supporters, it may not be something that matters quite as much to folks going to the polls come November 2026.
And Brett, the president said that Attorney General Pam Bondi can release what she feels is relevant. Do you think that the Attorney General actually has free rein and she's calling the shots on this one?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I think at the center of this is just how much there is to actually be released, or how much more Attorney General Pam Bondi could actually release. There's an argument that the reason, and Pam Bondi has sort of made this argument herself, that the reason more information has not been shared is because there are sort of legal constraints that sharing more information could, include information about victims' names or identifications. That certain information that is yet to be released contains child pornography, and that, of course, is not something the government is going to release. There are questions around whether there is actually more information for public consumption out there. But Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is really the one who I think is facing sort of the most pressure on all this, both from Republican lawmakers and from Trump supporters who want to see her doing more here.
Brett Samuels, thank you very much for joining us.